Today, with the current political situation, more and more people are realizing that our country is in peril of remaining a free republic. Many people, upon realizing this, become discouraged and believe that there's nothing they can do to remedy the situation. They believe this because they've never been adequately exposed to what can be done when people are organized effectively into a concerted action program. When enough people can be organized in a city, state, or across the country, all working on the same agenda at the same time, a synergy is created that can be unstoppable. The Marxists in our country have an agenda. No single issue will stop it. Just talking about it, writing about it, or broadcasting the problems over the airwaves or internet will not stop it. If these things worked, then the problems would have already been solved since millions of people listen and read about the problems. What it takes is a nationally organized group of people, first educating the voters and then getting as many people involved in action programs designed to defeat the entire Marxist conspiracy. The John Birch Society has been doing just that since its founding in 1958. Two of the longest-fought agenda items of the Society have been our Get Us Out of the United Nations and the Support Your Local Police and Keep Them Independent campaigns. Two of the main thrusts of the communists in America is to have our country totally subservient to the United Nations and to merge all local police departments into a national police. The John Birch Society campaign to get us out lowered the support for the United Nations among the American people from when the campaign started in the early 1960s from over 80% support to around 35% after a few years. Indeed, the communist newspaper in Moscow, Pravda, even blamed the Society for the drop in support for the UN in the United States to the John Birch Society. Since the plans for merging the United States into the UN must have the majority support of the American people, the lack of support is a detriment to that merger and curtailed the total immersion of our government into the UN. No other organization focuses on the education of the people regarding the dangers of the UN and why the U.S. needs to get out. It was the same with our Support Your Local Police program. The communists have a plan for merging all local police departments into a national police, taking local citizen control of their police and transferring it first to the federal government and then to the UN. This program was moving along very well with the creation of the Law Enforcement Assistance Administration, or LEAA, by the federal government in the 1960s and early 1970s. But the success of the John Birch Society campaign of enlisting tens of thousands of people into the Birch program, warning the American people what the plan was, it stalled. And even the federal LEAA was put out of business. The first time a federal agency had been abolished due to public pressure, all created by the John Birch Society's Support Your Local Police campaign. Victories such as these were made possible because of the hard work of our members and others they had enlisted in the ad hoc committees. This is just one of the examples of how we have slowed down the communist agenda. Most people do not realize that the concerted action of working on the same thing at the same time has been the key to throwing off the timetable of the communist conspiracy by at least 50 years. So the communists fell back, regrouped, and are now on the march once again. So it is time to do the same on our side and enlist more people into the fight to save America. There are a number of initiatives which came into play in the original plans for these two issues, and I'd like to discuss them with you so that you can see how it can be done again today. The Get Us Out of the United Nations program was generally implemented by a steady level of education of the American people and all means possible to get the information out. This was done with fair booths, floats, passing out literature at meetings. Some of the most effective meetings were those hosted by politicians to speak to their constituents. Other initiatives were hosting speakers into towns all across the country and using these opportunities to get the speakers on local talk radio and television programs, taking the speakers around to those of influence in the community for one-on-one appointments, etc. These were the ways to use any and all legitimate means to carry the word forward. Imagine what other means can be added today when you consider social media and the use of technology. Over a period of time, it all had an accumulative effect on the thinking of the American public, but more importantly on the local community opinion molders. It was the same with the Support Your Local Police campaign. However, there were many instances when the Support Your Local Police committees were able to stop the open campaigns of the communists in city after city to stymie the effectiveness of the local police. In other words, it wasn't simply the steady education of the public. It involved enlisting people into stopping dangerous initiatives to curtail the effectiveness of our local police. Let's just talk about a couple of examples. They revolve around the attempt to create civilian police review boards to oversee the activities of the local police department. These boards were always supported by the Marxists, and usually those appointed to the boards were not in support of the police, but the enemies of the police. They created new regulations, not laws, which created the conditions that worked against the police handling arrests and other activities, always calling into question the manner in which police functioned in their duties. As a result, the police were less likely to stop crime if they knew that every move that they made would be called into question, and with possible punishment for incidents which involved any individual on the left being detained or arrested for the lawlessness. In New York City, the local government tried to impose such a board, and the Support Your Local Police Committee rallied and got enough signatures to put the issue on the ballot. In this case, many members of the police department helped in the Support Your Local Police effort. The end result was that the people of New York saw the problem and voted overwhelmingly not to have the Civilian Police Review Board. The manner in which the problem was solved in Seattle, Washington was a little different. There, the Support Your Local Police Committee rallied its members into the streets of Seattle and were able to get 6% of the voters to sign a petition in favor of the police in a matter of 4 hours. In addition, members of the committee knocked on the doors of the 6 major neighborhoods of Seattle with a questionnaire about the current issues surrounding the police and found overwhelming support for the police, including in the black community. A meeting with the mayor was scheduled, and with the company of the newspapers, television, and radio, this meeting was held, and the results of the survey given to him, as well as the signatures on the petition. As a result, the move to create a civilian police review board was stopped. All of this was accomplished in 5 days. With organization and good leadership, much can be accomplished. Such things were happening all over the country under the leadership of the John Birch Society. Regrettably, due to the success of the Support Your Local Police committees, the urgency of the moment subsided, and most of the Support Your Local Police committees withered away, since they saw little reason to remain active. The result is that the communists patiently worked their wiles on local governments, and we are now at the stage where we have to revitalize the Support Your Local Police committees as soon as possible. There's only one way to do this, and that is to convince enough people that what was done before can be done again, if the people are willing to do it and not get discouraged. Discouragement is a tool of the communists. In the 1960s and 1970s, the people were discouraged too. But they said they have to get involved, and get involved they did. It's time once again to get involved, not complaining about it, but uniting in a common cause to save our American Republic. The people need to come together under experienced leadership which knows not only what the problems are, but the solutions as well, all working on the same thing at the same time, which gives the movement the synergy to be successful.